smell of a rotting onion is probably the most disgusting fucking thing I've ever smelled.
I mean, I saw pretty much the insides of every part of the human body. Hello, this is Heisenberg White coming at you with another installment of the Never Ever Show. For those of you who watched last week's episode, you know how this works. We're going to chat for a little while, get a sense of each other's tastes, and at the end of our interview, we give each other some homework to do, and that each person is responsible for checking out 4 things suggested by the other: a movie, television show, an album, and the wildcard option. My guest this week is a man of many skills. He's an artist, an animator, a game dev, a Marine, a friend, and a sweet, sensual lover. Please join me in welcoming my good buddy, Arrested Development.
Hi.
Hi, so nice to have you on. I'm very happy you had the time to do this with me today. I'm curious if you can, people know that we've done a lot of streams together in the past, and obviously we're cut from the same cloth in terms of like time where, we were really making a lot of TCAP stuff. Do you remember the first time we talked to one another?
Yeah, wasn't that after that Codcast?
Yes, I believe it was the one where we had Ramona on. You were a guest with Andrew Burkhead, and Ramona was the surprise guest.
Yep.
And after that, I just had to have you back. You didn't get to talk too much during that episode, but I could tell then that you were pretty funny, pretty nice guy. A nice, sensible guy, or however the fuck Dan Allen said it. Pretty nice, mellow, nice guy. That's it. And it just went off from there. I've had a voice role in a couple of different Arrested animations, which you can check out on his channel, Arrested Development. He's made dozens and dozens of amazing animations, and he's tackling more and more projects every month to do something cool. He's putting weeks and weeks into certain projects, and other days he can just grind one out right away, and they're all still amazing. So it's very nice that I'm speaking with somebody so talented in the community.
Well, thanks.
I have some questions for you. I figure I know you pretty well at this point, but I want to see if I can find out any new information about you, and in turn, if you ever think of anything along the way you'd like to ask me, I'll be happy to answer. These questions are going to be relatively loosely related to one another. They are going to be pretty non-typical sort of interview questions.
Okay.
That's the point. I'd like to see how you react. Are you ready?
Okay.
Okay. Question 1, and I'm hoping the answer isn't last night, but what is the drunkest you have ever been?
The drunkest I've ever been? Jesus. There's so many times. I mean, like, I've been blackout drunk a couple of times. That's always fun.
Mm-hmm.
But I can't really think of anything specific. Last night wasn't the drunkest I've been, although I was pretty wasted.
What's your beverage of choice?
These days I drink a lot of whiskey, so like Crown Royal with a splash of water or something like that on the rocks.
How sophisticated.
Yeah, well, I like beer, but like beer puts on helps you put on a lot of weight, so kind of steered away from that for a little while.
Would you say, to answer the first question, it was probably more likely during your college time or military time or sometime in the last couple of years?
Definitely during the military, or a time in the military.
That's wild.
Yeah, I mean, we partied pretty hard.
If there's one thing the Marines are known for, it's having a laid-back policy and partying a lot.
Yes.
and not taking anything seriously. Yep.
Right?
I have another one for you. What is the furthest you have ever been from your home?
Afghanistan's pretty far.
I figured.
Yeah.
How long is a flight to there from where you left?
Oh, we flew from California, and it was like, it had to have been like a 24-hour ordeal with a layover, of course, but it was pretty miserable.
Yeah, I think that sounds about right. I think that's about as far away on the other side of the world as you can get.
Yep.
Middle East. I think for me it was time I don't know what's. I think it's got to be when I went to London a few years ago, London, England. I've been to like Florida, and that's the furthest I've ever been in like the States.
Yeah.
From where I am in New York, but yeah, I think 7.5-ish hour flight overnight to London probably was the furthest for me, and I really like that. Have you done a lot of traveling just for leisure that you weren't doing with the military?
I've been to Peru. Went there a couple times. So down.
What were you doing in Peru? Just vacationing or checking it out?
Yeah, I don't know if you remember a couple months ago now. I had a buddy of mine on a stream with me, and anyways, he's originally from Peru, and so he has family down there. So I went down with him to go party and hang out with his family for a couple weeks. It was quite the experience.
That's neat. What do you like most about Peru?
The food. Like the food is just like it's great food.
Huh.
Like
I'm not sure if I've ever had Peruvian food or where I would even get it here in the States.
Yeah, it's actually hard to find here in the States, and even the stuff I've had, it pales in comparison to even like the cheap food stands and stuff they have down there. Like, yeah, it's something about the ingredients they use. Maybe they're fresher or something like that, but it's difficult to find a Peruvian place up here.
All right, here's a pretty reasonable question, I think.
Yeah.
What amount of money would it take for you to consider eating human flesh?
Yeah, I don't know. That's a pretty interesting question. It would have to be
a question.
Yeah. I just don't think I would do it at all. Like,
what if it was like just a little bit?
I have no interest in I think you can get really sick from doing that anyways.
Yeah, there's a lot of bad things that can happen.
Right. I mean, then there's a question of how you got it in the first place.
So you're going to take the moral stance here and not take any amount of money?
Yeah, what about you?
Oh, jeez. You're going to make me look like the weirdo. I'll say for the record, I have no desire to do that, nor will I ever find myself in this situation. But I'm thinking somewhere in the $1 billion mark, probably, for me.
Yeah, there you go.
Think of the amount of good you can do with that type of money for a small sacrifice, I guess, or somebody's big sacrifice if you end up eating somebody, I guess. But just a little bite, just a little nibble, it's not going to be that bad. Maybe. Yeah, but that's for me somewhere in the B's.
Yeah.
Here's a more edible question.
Okay.
What is your favorite type of candy?
I like just like lemon drops, like generic lemon drops.
Do you like sour candies?
Yeah.
Like sour gummy worms or warheads, things like that?
Those are yeah, I wouldn't go out of my way to eat those anymore, but But
you when you're on long car rides, do you if you're at a 7-Eleven, what's your go-to snack?
Usually Gardettos.
What is that?
Those Gardettos, like snack mix stuff.
Never heard of that.
Oh,
maybe I have. Is it sort of like trail mix or Chex Mix or something like that?
It's sort of like Chex Mix, except it tastes better.
Yeah,
I guess that's something.
When it's got a lot of seasoning over it.
Right.
Yeah. Huh. All right. I'm a big M&M guy. I like every variation of M&Ms.
There you go.
Peanut butter, just regular. Usually that for me, or Reese's Pieces.
Sure.
Yeah, those are good for movies and car trips. Easy to eat. Definitely a staple.
Oh yeah.
Okay, my next question is, what is a film that you could laugh at no matter how many times you watch it?
I don't know. I like Step Brothers. I've seen that about 1 million times. I still get a chuckle out of it.
That's a pretty good answer. I'm going to guess you probably saw it when it was first coming out in the theaters?
I don't think so.
I saw it afterwards. I didn't see it when it first came out either. I saw it a few years after.
Yeah.
Will Ferrell's the man. He's awesome.
I did see Anchorman in the theaters.
Mm.
That's a good one. But
I think for me, I ended up paying, not really intentionally, but I ended up seeing this movie, I think, like 4 times in the theaters. It was 2012, 2013 maybe it came out. This Is the End with Seth Rogen and James Franco and Jay Baruchel.
Okay.
And yeah, Jonah Hill. Danny McBride. Like, it's probably like assembling some of the funniest people in television and movies and comedy. I fucking died laughing the first time, and then my brother at the time had some of his friends over, and they're like, "Dan, can you drive us to the movies?" I was like, "What are you gonna go see?" And they were seeing something else. I was like, "No, don't see that. Go see this movie." And they're like, "Okay, do you want to come with us?" And I said, "Yes." And then 2 more times after that, I went to the drive-in near where I live, and it was playing with like other movies that were going on, and every time I would stay and watch it again. I own it on DVD now. I think it's one of the funniest movies ever.
Oh yeah.
Have you ever seen that or heard of it?
I haven't seen it, no.
Interesting. I'm gonna move on now. What is the first cell phone you ever owned, and how did you like it, and how did it work?
I can't remember the model number, but it's like that stereotypical, well, not stereotypical, but it's that old Nokia phone that everybody had for, this was like 2003 when I got it. And it was like the old black and white ones, except it had a color screen, and I didn't like it, but it worked. I mean, it was useless for anything except for, phone calls, and like, I forgot what like a pain in the ass it was to text. And then when I went to Okinawa, I had to get Japanese cell phone service, and I had some like weird Vodafone phone that was like a flip phone. And once again, it was just about as useless for anything but talking and texting, and it was way more expensive over there. Like, I think I paid $100 a month, and this is like 2006, 7. Like, paid $100 a month for like, you only got like an hour of talk time and stuff like that. Yeah, it sucked.
Probably, I'm going to guess, because it's such a densely populated area that they didn't have the technology at the time to support such heavy use.
Maybe. It could be. I don't know what their plans are like now, but I can imagine it's much different.
4G, even here in the States, signal will lag and be slow in like really heavily populated areas. Like Orchard Park, New York is a pretty barely suburban sort of area. But that's where the Bills Stadium is, and on Sundays when there's 70,000 plus people there, you can't get your phone to do anything because everybody's using the same tower at the same time. But when nobody's there, it's perfectly normal. It's just interesting things you learn when you work for Verizon for some time. So that's why in like big cities too, it's a lot more expensive and doesn't work as well. And on the other end, big rural open areas don't do that well with cellular service because nobody wants to put a tower out there because nobody lives there. So.
Right. In fact, that was an issue. I was on recruiting duty in 2011 and 2012, and so I got a government cell phone. I think it was Verizon, and so, I always like listen to music and stuff on YouTube or what have you, and my personal cell phone was a T-Mobile, and so, I was in the car like, a couple hours a day, and anytime I went to go get people to enlist, or when I'd go take them to do processing, it was like a 4-hour drive each way, and anyway, so the Verizon phone, like the government phone, had 4G service all throughout the state. But my personal phone was useless outside of the the small town I was in. Kind of sucked. So anytime, and like when I was stationed in California, sometimes I drive. I'm from Seattle, and sometimes I drive to and from California and Seattle, and it kind of sucked not having service throughout most of the trip. It's changed. It's different now, but
yes, it is. Even now, particularly open or hilly areas when I travel for work, I run into the same issue too. It's kind of annoying. But,
Yeah.
You learn to deal with it. The only time I really am frustrated is if I'm using my phone as a GPS and I lose signal, because then I'm kind of screwed. But you make do. You just follow the signs, or guess.
Right.
I haven't been too lost yet, so we'll see about that.
I rarely ever use like GPS directions and stuff like that. But
You're really that good at just navigating?
well, I mean, where I live, I grew up here and know the area pretty well, but it depends.
Yeah, sometimes even if I have a good idea of where I'm going, I'll put it in the GPS anyway, just because I'm nervous I'm gonna be stupid and miss a turn or something, get all turned around.
Right.
Yeah. Here's one for you. Have you attended more weddings or funerals in your life?
Weddings. In fact, I didn't actually go to no, I take it back. Funerals.
You've been to more funerals than weddings.
Yeah, which isn't saying much. Probably, I think 3 funerals. No, 4 or 5, because there was a time when I was a recruiter that you had to go, some old vet would die, and they'd have a military ceremony, and so, we'd go there in our uniforms and, pay our respects and stuff like that, but I've only been to 2 funerals of, really close friends or family.
I see. And who were the weddings for?
Both my brothers got married 20-some years ago, and I had a good friend of mine that I grew up with get married a couple years back.
They're fun, right?
Yeah.
The weddings, not the funerals. The weddings.
Right, yeah.
I could definitely see you on the dance floor at a wedding.
There was this place.
Plastered.
Oh,
Yeah.
You know what? When it comes to the drunkest I've ever been, this qualifies as being up there, I guess. But there was this place in Okinawa where, this one bar I used to go to that would, it seems like every other weekend they would host wedding receptions, and there's a lot of places in Japan that you can't go to if you're a foreigner, and sometimes the people that did the wedding receptions wouldn't allow foreigners in, but when they did, it was a freaking blast. And there was one night went and dude, Japanese people can really drink, and there's no last call in the bars over there. And I remember one time we were drinking till 2:30 in the morning, and these guys wanted to go sing karaoke, and so we go to this karaoke joint and we're freaking having a good old time. And then the next thing I know, I'm freaking stumbling drunk, and I step outside and it's 10 o'clock in the morning and it's already hot, and I was just oh Jesus, I need to get the fuck out of here. It was it was a very long hangover recovery, but
yeah, that sounds like a fun time. Karaoke is a big thing over there, isn't it?
oh yeah, and it's the only place I'll ever sing karaoke. I'll never do it in the States, but
What was your go-to song?
oh, what was it? I used to sing a lot of Billy Joel. So I think For the Longest Time was one I was pretty good at singing. But
I'd love to find a video somewhere in the internet of you, the shit-faced singing Billy Joel.
fortunately, YouTube had just come out when I was over there, so something like that wouldn't have popped up. But I'm fairly certain I've got some of me somewhere on my old shitty digital camera.
All right, here's this one I'm interested to hear. It's pretty vague, but I'll let you, probably something will come to mind. What's the most grossed out you have ever been?
Oh, dude, I've seen some shit, man. This sounds rather benign, but I went to this cheap grocery store. It was because they sell a lot of ethnic food and stuff like that that you can't find elsewhere. And I bought some onions because produce was on sale. And I bought an onion, and I went home and I cut into it, and it was rotten on the inside. And well, that doesn't sound like much. The smell of a rotting onion is probably the most disgusting fucking thing I've ever smelled. My whole fucking apartment reeked like it, and oh god, I forget if I threw the knife or I'm sure I threw the cutting board away because it was just fucking ruined. It
Wow,
was just
that bad, huh?
full of this fucking black, nasty shit. Ugh. Ugh. Just thinking about it makes me fucking grossed out. Like, you wouldn't think that would be that bad, but it really is.
Never looked at onions the same way.
Fortunately, I didn't have one of those fucking experiences, but... Oh, I did. I got food poisoning once from... I used to love tuna fish sandwiches. And I got food poisoning once from a tuna sandwich, and I can't even smell the stuff anymore.
Oh, I've never been a tuna person. I've never chosen that out of anything. I don't even think I've ever had like an actual tuna fish sandwich. So,
well, you weren't missing out much.
That's what I figured. Yeah.
In its place, I'll have like a chicken salad sandwich whenever I have something like that, which is
pretty darn close anyway.
Close enough. I grew up here. Seafood's a big thing up here because we're right on the water, and I grew up eating a lot of seafood, and now I can't really stomach it.
That's the way it goes, huh?
Yeah.
Fortunately, we're known for our wings here, our chicken wings.
Right.
I had chicken wings last night. I can still have them. There's at least, it's a simple thing, and there's a big variety of sauces and ways to cook and eat them. So, if you wanted to, you could have a different flavor wing probably once every day for a year. There's no shortage of options here.
Chicken wing capital of the world.
Yes, it is. That's my last food-related question, by the way.
Okay.
To go back to the gross, for me, it's a tie between the time my senior year of high school, our health teacher, which the health class for half a year in high school is pretty much a joke.
Right.
One day he says, "Hey guys, I got a buddy of mine who works down at the morgue at the local college here, like the gross anatomy lab. You guys want to go for like a field trip?" Absolutely no real connection of what we were learning at the time or anything, but he's like, I've got this connection. You guys want to go? And we were all like, yeah, let's do it. That was pretty nasty because it's a student lab, so they have cadavers all over,
right?
Cut in different places. I mean, I saw pretty much the insides of every part of the human body. It's freaky. They cover their face, hands, and feet with cloth, and that's supposed to make it a little bit easier to like cut them open because it's more like a tool you're using rather than an actual person, human being.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but that smell was pretty bad too.
I was gonna say that smell has to be fucking awful.
I'll never forget it. And I'll also never forget that after we left, we stopped for pizza on the way back to school, and everybody else was too grossed out to eat, except for me. I had like 3 giant pieces of pizza. I was like, fuck it, I'm hungry, man.
Hell yeah.
I'm not going to let that get me down. It was either that or my first job working at a beer store redemption center. Man, the people that bring in bags of beer cans and shit, right?
Yeah.
I swear to God, people's brains just like turn off when they bring that stuff to us. You wouldn't believe the shit we found in those bags. First off, beer cans that aren't completely empty, sitting in a garbage bag, sitting in the sun, they smell pretty bad altogether. And then you got people putting their cigarettes out in them too, and it's just a big mess.
Yeah.
But the really like random shit we would find more often than we would like to. Let's see, broken glass, used condoms, used diapers, underwear, fucking dead animals, live animals. We've had like a steak before. That was freaky.
Jesus.
Yeah. But the worst one, it was surprising because I opened the bag of cans, all Bud cans. This guy would come in and get a 30-pack of Bud every other day, if not every day.
Yeah.
And he had a dog with him, always in his car. The dog was crazy. The dog would see us coming and would try to shove every part of its mouth out the window and try to kill us. And he'd be like, "Oh, geez, he's just being playful." Like, no, that dog, I don't know what you've done, but that dog is vicious. I've never been around a more vicious animal in my life. So I grabbed his cans and I throw them all on the sorting table. Looks spotless. Looks like there's nothing on them, but what I think had happened was the dog might have pissed on the cans.
Oh,
And
God.
there were 3 of us working at the time, and each of us were going in for 15 seconds at a time, holding our breath, counting them, and then when we couldn't take it anymore, we would have to leave. It was the absolute. I almost quit that day. I was like, you can't. This is not like a safe working condition.
Right.
This is some sort of biohazard thing going on here. It's awful.
Ugh.
Oh man, I don't miss it.
I'll bet.
I'm pretty much immune to like a lot of gross shit now, just because I had to sort through so much garbage, so people can get their fucking nickels. You know.
Oh yeah, they only do redemption in a few states, I think.
Yeah, I understand it. It's good if you buy a 30 pack and then return a 30 pack, or some people will buy hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of 30 packs over years and years and years.
Yeah.
And then after 10 years, they bring a truckload full of cans in.
Right.
It's for us to just manually count. That sucked.
I remember when I was a kid, I remember going around collecting cans from businesses and stuff like that, and crushing them and taking them like to a recycler. I remember I'd spent like a couple months, getting all these cans and crushing them and all that shit, and I got like $5. I'm like, fuck this, I'm never doing that again.
Yeah, it's not as rewarding as people think, unfortunately. It's nice that people recycle them, I guess, and
Sure.
they get some money for it. But yeah, it's not that great.
No. I mean, I was a kid, I wasn't expecting too much, but it seemed like that was a lot of effort for not much reward, so.
Yep.
But we don't have that kind of redemption. So it was based on the value of the metal itself, like the weight of the metal.
Yeah, I've never understood why more states don't do it, or why some states are 5 cents and some are 10 cents. Like, it seems like a good system to get people to not just throw their fucking cans away.
Right.
If there's an actual incentive to get them back.
Yeah, exactly.
Plus it helps a little bit with, like, I don't know if it's a good thing or bad thing that, like, the homeless, like, go around picking up cans and shit. I mean, that usually in a city, they'll pick up enough just spare cans on the side of the road to at least buy them a meal for the day or something. But they also, shouldn't have to rely on that.
Right.
And people shouldn't be littering their cans so much. Plus, people don't like it when they go, like, when it's like garbage day, and there's like a homeless guy walking up and down the street going through everybody's garbage looking for cans. It's a little weird. But yeah, one of the unintended consequences, I guess. All right, we're going to go back briefly to movies on the other end of things.
Sure.
What is the worst movie that you've ever paid to see?
Oh boy. I don't know if I can answer that question. I can't really think. It's once or twice I've walked out of a movie theater. I just can't remember specifically what movies they were.
Was it a scary movie and you were too scared, or was it just like boring or bad movie? Or?
I just remember I wouldn't walk out except unless it was just really boring. Actually, no. Now that I think about it, I'd say the worst movie that I ever paid to see, and I watched the whole damn thing, was I think it was Star Wars Episode 1 when that came out.
Yeah.
That was a
Were you now that you've had a lot of time to think about it, and there's been a whole new series of films after that, do you still believe it was as bad as you did then, or do you think it's worse?
It prevented me, I loved the original movies as a kid, and that totally ruined the whole franchise for me. I never watched another Star Wars movie since.
What was so bad about it? I know, but like, what to you made it like unwatchable?
It seemed to me like it was geared towards children.
What gave you that idea? Was it the child-centric characters? Was it Jar Jar Binks?
It was both of those things.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just remember watching it. I was like, "What the fuck is this garbage?" And
I wouldn't have minded it if Jar Jar had like died at the end of the movie. No, they kept him around for 2 more movies after that.
Oh Christ! Yeah, I couldn't bring myself to, and I've heard great things about the newer ones, but I've just never had
They're
any desire
definitely
to see
different.
them. Yeah.
Yeah, they're definitely different than the prequels. The prequels have their moments, but by far the weakest saga of films possibly ever in cinema. For me, I was in, I think, high school, around the time when I was in middle school, a show came out on Nickelodeon called Avatar: The Last Airbender. Sort of an anime-ish style show that ran on Nickelodeon about this world where people can control the elements. Usually one person can control fire, and a whole another section of people can control earth and wind and water and shit like that. But the Avatar is the one that can do all of them.
Okay.
Great show, fantastic show, much more adult than probably Nickelodeon had ever intended it to be. To run back to back with like SpongeBob, it was a linear story. It told a story over many seasons.
Sure.
It was very good, and for whatever reason, M. Night Shyamalan got it in his idea that I can make a movie about this. I'll take the first season and make it into a live action movie, and it'll be great. It's consistently on people's top worst films ever made for a number of reasons. The casting was out of place, not good. Bad casting on the villain part, on the main character's part. Storytelling, really, it was disappointing because the first season of the show was so good and it felt very rushed and not taken seriously.
Yeah.
The effects were god-awful. There are specific scenes in that were supposed to be big dramatic moments that erupted in laughter. And what's funny is I saw it at a midnight premiere back when they still did midnight premieres.
Okay.
Whole theater full of fans of the show. The movie starts, people are cheering, and they're like, yeah, we finally getting our movie, yeah. End of the movie, end credits roll. I've never seen it before. An entire theater boo the film. An entire theater erupt in boos. Wow. Nobody liked any part of it. It was that bad.
Jesus.
Yeah. People were demanding their money back. It was so bad.
Oh, man.
And rightfully so.
Okay.
Yeah, I would never. You could not pay me enough to see that movie again. It's so bad.
It reminds me of when I was a kid. I remember the Super Mario Brothers movie when that came out.
Oh yeah, that's another thing where somebody is taking something very beloved to a large group of people, but doesn't get it.
Right.
Doesn't get what to do with it, and they think, oh, I'll just make this into what a normal movie formula would look like, rather than take the source material and sort of translate that to cinema. They're like, well, a movie would have a goofy character like this, and there would be a good-looking protagonist like this, and there would be an evil-looking villain like this, but that's not always how the source material works, and the characters are a little more, not one note. However, in the case of Mario, it's funny because at the time that the movie came out, there's so little to base it off of. It was just a game. You could have taken it anywhere. Why they decided to do what they did with it in the horrible way that they handled it, I don't know. They had all the freedom in the world, and it just wasn't that good. It
was fucking horrible. Even as a kid, I was just like, what the fuck is this? It's just that was a
trip. Yeah,
that was a bad movie. I can't say I was ever disappointed because what do you really expect? But
video game movies are notorious for not being that good.
Right.
There was a World of Warcraft movie that came out a few years ago. That was okay. The Mortal Kombat movies come to mind, which they're making another one, by the way. Detective Pikachu, which came out I think last year, is technically a video game movie, and now there's a Sonic movie coming out, and that already has disaster written all over it, but I think a lot of people are willing to give it a chance.
Right.
You've been keeping up with the Sonic movie, by the way? Do you know about all the controversy behind it?
So, well, not really. I know that the original design was nightmare-inducing.
Yeah, it was so bad that the studio pushed back the release date so they could have the entire studio overhaul the character design to make it more likable.
Right.
Super bullshit thing though. By the time they had wrapped it up, they had worked their company overtime so much that they had to file for bankruptcy, and the studio shut down.
Huh.
From making this movie, from trying to make it right for Sonic the Hedgehog.
Jesus.
But you know what? It worked, and I think people really like the new character design, which is good. It's funny that they pushed the date back to Valentine's Day this year. Okay. So if you got a special lady in your life, you want to show her a good time, take her out to go see the Sonic the Hedgehog movie. It's definitely seen in 3D. If you really want to impress her.
Oh, Jesus.
This can kind of geared towards film as well, or you can take it in the literal sense. But do you have a favorite superhero?
No. As a matter of fact, I've never really been that big of a fan of like comic book related stuff, like superheroes and stuff like that. It's just not my thing.
Okay, but let me ask you this.
Okay.
If you could have a superpower, what would that be?
The ability to take pictures of myself masturbating.
You do it sometimes 2 or 3 times a day?
And it didn't help. No, no, I'm just kidding. No, being able to fly would be kind of cool, without having to pay for an airplane ticket.
Oh yeah, that would be convenient, I guess. For sure.
Among other things, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's all the questions I have. Did you want to ask me anything? You don't have to. I'm curious because I have a couple of things already. I'm thinking of throwing at you here for you to check out.
Okay. Do you know how to cook?
Yeah, relatively. It's a little bit tricky for me because I'm going to be traveling for work again here. I start traveling tomorrow, actually.
Oh, wow.
So I'm going to be gone from like Monday through Friday, and I can't really keep a lot of fresh ingredients in the house.
Yeah.
Because they go bad.
Right.
But if I can prepare it ahead of time and can time it right, yeah, I do enjoy cooking. I think I'm even considering next week, because I'm going to a Super Bowl party, making a big pot of this Polish stew that my family makes really special occasions. I made it last year for the Super Bowl. It's really good and meaty.
Nice
stew. Yeah, so I'm thinking about making that. But that's like a $70 thing. You buy all the ingredients and the time you put into it. So yeah, other than that, it's mostly just microwave popcorn and shit like that.
Nice. Yeah. Well, I wound up just kind of teaching myself how to cook over the years because, well, I like cooking and I like food. So, and I haven't had anybody spit out my food yet. So, by most accounts, nice. I'm a pretty decent cook. In fact, I really like what TCAP Recipes does.
Oh yeah, that's so cool. This is the second episode in a row I give a shout out to TCAP Recipes because people just like his channel so much. It's so clever and creative. Yeah, there's a lot of this is really like a renaissance in terms of like the type of content.
Right.
Because I think we've pretty much all but drilled analyzing footage into the ground at this point, even though I'll always still be a little bit interested or always want to go back and revisit certain things. But the type of content that Baked Salmon and Wes and TCAP Recipes are putting out now is on a whole nother level. People are it's clear that they're taking pride in their work, even as silly as it is. And it's paying off. His Cranston, even like it's evolved into this totally different set of art, yourself included in terms of the projects you've been working on and putting out too. So it's a very interesting time, and I have a feeling in about a month or so things are going to start to get a little more interesting with the resurgence of possibly somebody getting out of prison.
Oh God!
And who knows? Possibly somebody going to prison and see how this Vince Chris thing works out. But I don't want to talk about that much. That already makes me angry enough.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I'm not really familiar with that shit.
Well, I don't know if you've heard the big news is that Chris actually did fire Vince.
I did hear that.
Yeah. Very surprised by that. And it's always hard to take Chris seriously because he can never not talk in his news voice. Like, he says everything the same way. You can't tell if he's being serious or not.
Yeah, exactly.
Like that shit. Plus, he's lied to his fans and shit before, and I think he's the wrong guy for what he's doing right now with this Onision thing. I hate just even talking about this. I think that's exactly what a guy like that wants, is just all the attention. So I'm trying not to really bring attention to it, but I think at least us calling into question the legitimacy of their operation is a good thing, rather than people just putting it all on Chris, saying, well, it's Chris Hansen, like, what's he gonna do? He's a pro at this, like, this is what he does for a living, or did for a living, he's perfect. Meanwhile, we know exactly what kind of shitty things he can put out and be capable of. God forbid he started like another Kickstarter or something and all these people got behind it, and we're,
I'm honestly surprised he hasn't tried that shit again.
He can't. Now he has no access to those websites. I say websites in quotes that Vince had made for him, because now they're like fighting with each other, which is hilarious. They're just imploding.
I can't bring myself to watch that shit, and that whole Onesian thing, like,
yeah.
I can't fucking believe that's like.
It's pretty fucking cringy to me, and it's sad because it is like a serious thing, but the guy it's about. I think I was on a call with Mr. Gigi earlier this week. We were talking briefly about it. I said, that Onision guy, that guy is like, if in 7th grade I was told to like pretend to be an evil villain,
right.
That's what I would do in 7th grade. I would be like this fake, maniacal, laughing, like Joker-like character that like just starved for internet attention and everybody hated. And it's hard to believe that that's not a character, like that's actually how he works.
I suspect it's a mixture of both, but like I've only probably seen less than 1 whole minute's worth of footage of his, and like it reminds me, since we were talking about movies, and it's kind of cliche to quote stuff about Idiocracy, but it reminds me
love it.
It reminds me of the movie Ass, and that's all it was for 90 minutes. And like everybody loved it, and that dude is so popular. I'm just like, who the fuck can watch this? But people love it, so I can see why people like Chris are making a big deal out of it, because it makes brings him back in the limelight.
That's both good and bad,
Yeah,
The more interesting part of the story for me, and I think a lot of people in our community, is just now the dichotomy and relationship with Chris and Vince, and how they always had each other's backs, and now it was just like one too many fuck ups that now they're like are really feuding with each other, I guess. And it's funny the shit that Vince is trying to say, like, Chris never paid me for any of the work I did. Like, dude, why were you working for 10 months for free then? What were you doing? Like, that's not his fault. He didn't steal anything from you. And by the way, what work? You like took a template website and put a paywall behind it, and you figured out how to have your image in a 3-way call appear during a live stream? Like that's really what we're working on here? How about the investigation that you didn't do? How about the investigation that was supposed to be ongoing that you fucked up by tampering with evidence? How about all the fucking racist and doxing, bullshit you get called on for? I don't know. He's very reminiscent, and if you've seen Wes's most recent upload, I believe went up earlier today, his phone call with Vince, when all this shit went down, he called Vince Lorne Armstrong because of the way he was dodging the questions and trying to be the victim. And wasn't that a great quote by the judge, I think, in the trial, is that you can't be the victim of your own crime?
Right.
Yeah. I don't think that's ever applied more than it has here. And he's such a liar, and he's such a not good liar, that you wonder, like, why him and Lorne don't ever just own up to shit and drop shit. Like, do you really value other people's approval that much that you're willing to argue with them for weeks and weeks and weeks about it, rather than just admit you had some faults?
Oh, yeah. It's difficult.
They're the same people who think that they're going to always be attacked. Because they think they're always going to be attacked, they're like, why would I ever bother apologizing?
Sure.
Whereas if they did bother apologizing and actually following through with making some healthy changes, the attacks would most likely stop.
Yeah, more or less. Especially with Lorne, it doesn't matter what that guy does. He'll keep getting hounded.
I know, but you know what would happen? You know what he could do to have like a whole lot of that happen less is not answer the phone every time it rings. Mind his own business, go to work, get his paycheck, and go home. The sex offender status kind of keeps him from really like going out and going crazy, but that's probably for the better. And as we know, he just disregarded those rules anyway and just fucking got drunk. Wow, it's been so long since I've talked about Lorne with anybody. Sorry. This is nice to come back to that. Hey, we'll see what happens in about a month from now.
Yeah, I predict more of the same.
Isn't that sad?
Yeah.
It is almost like as curious as I am. I'm just curious to see what he would have to say or do. I have a feeling he's going to be very quiet for maybe the first month or two, and then try to do some investigating on his own and just immediately fall back into the same bullshit.
I give him about a week.
Well, he needs time to work back money to probably buy a new cell phone and a new car, so maybe that might be it. You think the first thing he's gonna do, if like he has like $20 left in his bank account when he gets out of jail, is go to the Straight Talk Wireless and get a phone, get a burn phone?
Yes, that's exactly what he's gonna fucking do, or he's gonna have his mom buy it.
Spend all
or
that
something
money on a new Bluetooth headset.
My God, he's just. He reminds me, like I had, especially in the military, like I had friends that were, objectively intelligent people, but were total, like, suckers for either, like, strippers or hookers. And like, no matter what you could say to them, like, hey, no, she's just into it for the money or whatever, like, you could never get these people to, like, stop wasting their lives on,
You know what that's like today? Those Twitch girls that show their cleavage on stream and play video games, and dudes are like girls with premium Snapchats, right? And they're just throwing money and money and money at them, like, oh, thank you, Joey94, thank you so much. And like, oh my God, she knows my name. This is amazing. We're like best friends. It's pretty sad,
dude. Sometimes grown adults amaze me. But yeah, Lauren is just like that, except like instead of.
Because he doesn't have money to throw away.
He doesn't have money to throw anywhere, and he has this weird sort of like old school morality, where things where I imagine he thinks things like hookers and strippers are immoral, right?
Well, he has this like the mentality of a typical man from like the 1950s, right?
Right.
The woman should do all the housework. The woman should know her place. But the thing is, the only reason that ever was a thing, besides it just being the cultural norm at the time, was because the husband, in turn, had a full-time job and supported a family.
Yes.
So that he could come home and relax and then go out and do the job again. But you can't be expected for people to even remotely give a shit about you if you're not at least offering something in return. And the something he was offering was not money or time or attention or love. It was just complaints and bullshit. And, and he still doesn't understand why he can't find a woman. You think when he was in jail, they did a cavity search on him and they found a Bluetooth headset in his butt?
I mean, it's quite fucking possible. Realistically, I'm sure he got plenty of cavity searches. I mean, that's I understand that's like a norm.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Imagine going to prison for 5 years for something that could have been so easily prevented.
Dude.
And not learning your lesson and going back again.
It's just so awesome. Like,
it's in reality, it's sad. But in our case, in the case of Lauren, it's pretty awesome. It does, I guess, speak a little bit to, you could say, the rehabilitation of America's prison system, how we treat our sex offenders as second-class citizens, which they kind of are.
Right.
Yeah. And you know what? More people have done worse things that have at least owned up to their mistakes. I don't think Lauren has ever sincerely apologized for a thing in his life.
No, I mean,
outside of oh, I'm sorry, I love you so much that I care about you, like that kind of bullshit apology.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like I said before. I mean, some people spend all their money and time and freaking ruin their lives hanging out with hookers and strippers and stuff. He just sits there in a trailer and jerks off to fucking fake girlfriends on the phone
I don't think he's masturbated to the image or idea of a real woman in the last, 25 years.
Like,
that's pretty bizarre.
He's a specimen. Yeah.
Well, this isn't the Lauren Armstrong show. This is the Dan and Rested show.
Right.
To get back on track, I have my 3 things I know I want to offer you, but I'm trying to think of my wild card here. We were talking a little bit about food earlier. Mm-hmm. I like to ask this question because I usually get some interesting answers. But what is like a major fast food chain that everybody loves but you've actually never been to?
I don't know about everybody loves, but like there's I remember always seeing ads for like Long John Silver's or something like that. So I mean,
have you never been to one?
No, they just don't exist.
I haven't either. Yeah, the nasty. I think the one that shocks people the most is when I say I've never been to a Chick-fil-A.
There aren't that many of them.
No, there's not, and I just don't have a desire, or Popeyes even.
There was I dislike Popeyes. But like everyone I've been to is like fucking just totally gross on the inside, and like the food's not good. And
oh yeah.
And then what was it? Oh, Chick-fil-A. That's some pretty good food, but like I said, there aren't that many of them, and so like the closest one to me is like 25 miles. So if I'm in the area, which is rare, I might stop in and get one, get something. But
how about like Chipotle?
I think that place is kind of overrated. I think I've been there like once or twice.
I feel the same way about Moe's. Actually, I think I talked about this in the last episode. I think Chipotle is better than Moe's.
I don't know what Moe's is.
It's the worst Chipotle.
Oh,
the
okay.
Version of that, yeah.
They have something up here.
Anybody who disagrees.
They have something up here called Taco Del Mar, which I think predates Chipotle by quite some time. They have the same types of things, and that's not bad. I would go there over Chipotle, like any of the chain or big chains like that.
Do you plan on watching the Super Bowl this week?
I'll probably get drunk and fucking bullshit with people at somebody's house or something like that, but whether or not I actually pay attention to the game is a different story.
All right, here you go. I think I've got everything I wanted to have you check out. Okay. So, for films, this actually came up earlier in our conversation of movie I told you I found to be incredibly funny. This Is the End, 2013 movie comedy. I think you're going to like it. I won't give you too much information ahead of time, but if sometime between now and next week you can rent it, if you spend money, I'll even reimburse you for it. I just want you to see this movie that bad, because it's that funny.
Okay.
That's my movie recommendation, and I'll send you the list of everything afterwards.
Cool.
Music. Does your music taste kind of have a wide variety? Do you like everything? Do you like a little bit of everything? Is there a particular type of music you don't like?
A lot of it, like electronic, like dance music and shit like that, like fucking dubstep and shit like that. I can't listen to that shit. Like, I don't really care for that kind of stuff. But I do have a wide variety of music taste. Lately, I've been listening to a lot of jazz.
Nice.
Yeah, and but yeah, electronic music has never been like my thing.
Does the name Run the Jewels mean anything to you?
It does not.
Goody, because I'm gonna have you listen to one of their albums. It's a rap duo that I found particularly interesting, and I'm not really a rap fan that much, but I really enjoy their their works of music. And I think you will too. Yeah, I think they're pretty cool, and I have a feeling you're gonna get a kick out of it. For television, though, this might be, you might have already seen this just because of where you live. But have you ever watched the show Portlandia?
I've heard great things about it. I've never seen it.
Do you have Netflix?
I don't think I'm sure I have an inactive account, but it's something I could check out.
I think you should check. I think that's a great, funny show. One of my all-time favorite shows that I think is funny because it takes place very close to you. And there are several episodes where they reference or even visit Seattle too. And it's funny. They think Seattle's like a bunch of stuck-up, like rich people, and the people in Portlandia are all these like scummy hipsters. I don't know how accurate you feel about either of those statements, but
both of them are totally true. And
yes,
they're basically Portland and Seattle are basically the same place.
Yeah.
I mean, even though they're distant by 150 miles or so, it's like exactly the same types of people. It's just like horrifically expensive, and yeah. So I've heard it's a pretty, relatively accurate as far as TV shows go. So yeah, I'll check that out.
My last suggestion to you, because we were talking about food earlier, I'm going to do some research, and you said you like to cook, right? You like to bake? Cook?
I like cooking, yeah.
I want to send you a recipe for you to make and to try out. Maybe something for snacky that you can bring to like a Super Bowl party. Something you haven't made before. And if it turns out to be really good, maybe I'll make it after. I'll try it. Yep. So I think these things are all pretty reasonable to do in a week's time.
Sure.
Now, your turn. Think hard about some of your favorite pieces of media and take a guess at what you think I would be interested in. Or, just throw something out there. Whether I am interested or not, we'll see. But I'm curious to hear what you have to say. You can start with, I don't know, who do you like in music?
So, like I said, I've got a pretty wide variety of musical tastes, but do you ever listen to heavy metal at all?
I have. I mean, as far as my tastes go, nothing really beyond System of a Down or maybe Metallica.
Yeah.
Nothing like that really heavy metal screamo stuff, but that Black Sabbath.
Sure.
Like that.
Okay, yeah. So I pretty much outgrew heavy metal, but there's one album in particular is Metallica's And Justice for All.
Haven't heard that album. I might have heard like a track or two from it. I'll pull a list up in a second, but Justice for All is the name of the album?
And Justice for All, yeah.
Huh. What do you like about it?
Well, I like the general sound, like the production on it. I mean, it's a good sounding album. Got good music, and when we were when I was in boot camp, we were doing some stuff like getting ready for drill, and or like this drill practice stuff, and we were doing like movements with rifles and stuff like you see in the movies. And I remember our senior drill instructor, to get us all pumped up, played that album while we were like practicing and stuff. I remember, it's just pretty cool. So that's why it sticks in my head.
I'm looking at the song list right now, and I've heard more of these, but the only one I'm recognizing right off the bat is one.
Right.
But all the other ones seem pretty new to me, so I will be happy to give that a shot. And I will make a note of that right now. Okay.
Yeah.
What else do you like?
Let's see here. I'm trying to think of a good movie or one that I'd recommend. Yeah, nothing comes to mind.
Baked Salmon made me watch Seven Samurai, which is like over 3.5 hours long.
Oh, Lord. Oh,
it was good. It was funny. It was good. I've been meaning to watch it, but anything a little shorter than that, I would appreciate.
Not too long ago, one of them, I wouldn't say it's an all-time favorite movie, but I watched Dog Day Afternoon with it's an old Al Pacino movie about a bank robbery in Brooklyn, and it's I don't know, I think it's a pretty good movie.
Something I haven't seen, so I will add it to my list.
Yeah.
How about when you have time to watch TV? What do you like to watch?
I don't watch TV, man.
Think back to when you did, or whatever the last thing you binged or even had an interest in.
Well, there was that Predator show.
Shit.
I'm just kidding. When I had Netflix last, I used to watch old, episodes of The Twilight Zone.
Oh, yeah.
Like the original series from the 60s.
I've only seen, maybe 1.5 of those.
Yeah, there's some of them are pretty clever.
They're all standalone stories, so if you can remember, some of your favorites, you can send it to me. Otherwise, I'll just check out some random ones. So I'll check out, 3 or 4 episodes of The Twilight Zone.
Cool.
Because I like Black Mirror, too, which is very Twilight Zone-y, too. And I know they actually rebooted The Twilight Zone recently. I don't know if you knew that. It's on CBS All Access. There are, some news stories and some reboots of the original episodes.
Oh, no, I had no idea.
Yeah, I watched one, and it was pretty good.
Yeah, I can send you a couple episodes.
All right, and last, think of anything or something. It can be another TV show or movie or something like that you recommend, or something completely different.
So last night, I had a buddy over and we were playing freaking Mario Golf for the GameCube.
Oh, nice.
On an emulator.
Yeah.
That game is a hell of a lot of fun. I'd recommend it.
Mario Golf. I think I've played about every Mario game except that. Mario Baseball, freaking Mario Kart, obviously. I wonder if there's a version of that available for the Switch.
Yeah, so, funny story. I bought one shortly before Christmas, and, I just sold it.
Oh no, we didn't even get to play Smash Brothers together.
Well, see, that was the thing. Is like, you know, there's no good software for it, for me at least. I've heard great things about Zelda Breath of the Wild, but you know, I was like, dude, I don't even mess with this thing. Like, I figure I just let it go. Plus, it's not like I take long car rides as anything other than the driver these days. You know, that was the other thing, is I couldn't find any like games like I'd love to see an F-Zero or like Star Fox and shit like that for the Switch, but like none of that stuff's out there. The only thing I really liked was I had a Zelda frickin'
Breath of the Wild?
No, not that one. I don't know why the name's escaping me. Oh, Link's Awakening. Because I had that on Game Boy like 20-some years ago. So that was kind of a neat game, but I played through it in like 2 days.
Legend of Zelda, for whatever reason, is the one franchise that just absolutely blew me by, and I never paid attention to and never got involved with. I think I might have owned 2 games for like the Game Boy or the DS or something like that, and I just never got that into it.
Yeah, I can't say I ever got that much into it. I mean, I played the like 8-bit games when they came out and stuff, and it was kind of a different animal. But I just I broke out on my PC. I have the emulator Dolphin, and got Mario Golf, and we just sat there and freaking got shwasted and whacked golf balls around.
Love it. I think that's going to be really fun.
Oh yeah.
Here's what I've got. I'm going to listen to the Metallica album, Injustice for All. I'm going to check out the film, Dog Day Afternoon. A couple episodes of the original Twilight Zone, and I'm going to see if I can pick up a copy of Mario Golf and fucking around with that while I'm supposed to be working. Hell
yeah.
For you, do you know what you're supposed to be checking out?
What was the name of that movie again? It's like
This is the
end, right? Okay.
Yes. The album is Run the Jewels. I think their album is also called Run the Jewels too. There's a couple of, I think, like Run the Jewels 1 and 2.
Okay.
Portlandia is the show.
Yep.
A couple episodes of that I think you get a kick out of, and I'm going to send you a recipe of something, and I want to see how it turns out and if you can make it.
Cool.
We're going to meet back here in about a week, and we'll see how we did, okay?
Sounds good to me.
So until next time, thank you again, and we'll pick this up shortly.
Hell yeah. Take it easy.
And we're back. It has been about 2 weeks since we have last spoke to one another, and we have just finished going through each other's recommendations for television and movies, things like that. I welcome back once again, Arrested Development.
Hi.
Yes, we're going to talk about some of the things that we had to do and watch during those 2 weeks. Why don't we start with the music? I was listening to Metallica's album, And Justice for All. I had it playing when I was driving, and I liked it enough that I decided to listen to it while I was using the gym, working out, and that's definitely what an album like that is meant for. Like,
Yeah.
pumping, getting you pumped up, like energy. A lot of Metallica's sounds and songs sound pretty similar to one another. It's hard to distinguish them, but there are definitely some standouts on the album, and it's, as a whole, is one piece of media that I could enjoy all the way through. Versus like an album that only has like a good section of songs. Like every song was good. It sounded similar to one another, but in a good way.
Right.
I'm not a big heavy metal guy, but I enjoyed it. I'll give it a 7 out of 10.
Cool.
Yep.
Yeah, so I listened to Run the Jewels 3, and it's a type of electronic music that I don't generally get into. And it was the same kind of thing where I left it on the background, and kind of like with Metallica songs. In fact, I think the worst offender is AC/DC, where every song sounds exactly the same.
Yeah, that's
like
pretty good.
It's like the same 5 chords over and over again. Most of the songs sounded similar. I mean, it was okay. Not that big of a fan, to be honest.
Any standouts in particular, or just as a whole, you were relatively kind of into it?
Overall, it was just like something I could put in the background, but
Not a big rap guy until you start your own rap career, of course.
Well, yeah, of course, and then, of course.
Okay, what would you rate it?
I give it about a 5 out of 10. It's, by my own personal standards. I don't really know what to compare it to, but
Right. Okay. Let's talk about the movies we watched. You recommended I watch Dog Day Afternoon. That's a movie I've heard about a lot,
Right.
But didn't know what it was about. I didn't look up anything beforehand. I just went into it completely blind. I don't know what I was expecting, but it was fantastic. Al Pacino, correct?
yeah.
Yeah. He gave a crazy good performance. It's one of those movies where there's not many events happening back to back. Like, it's all just about one day, but you're still on the edge of your seat the whole time. It's very anxious, just trying to figure out what's going to happen next. As things like spiral out of control. I can definitely see why it's considered a classic for some people. I was very surprised at the sort of, I think agenda is the wrong word for it, but like the ideology that they decided to associate with the main character halfway through the movie. I thought it was really going to be just this one note sort of like, criminal who's just out for money.
Right.
It really made an interesting motivation for him, made him a much more complex character than I had originally given credit for. So I consider it to be probably one of the better movies I've seen, at least in the last couple of years. I enjoyed it. I definitely recommend it. I'll give that an 8 out of 10.
Nice. It's actually, like, that whole story actually happened, right?
That was crazy. I did a little research after that and looked it up, and I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, it's a pretty bizarre. Well, like you said, halfway through the movie, it's like, what? Really?
Yeah, no.
So I watched This Is the End with.
Yes.
I kind of like in the opening where dude gets picked up at the airport and he's like, hey, Seth Rogen, you play the same character in every movie, which is kind of true. And then what was it? Like the was it Channing Tatum, the Gimp?
Yeah.
Yeah. I lost my shit at that. It's just, the whole movie is nuts, but it was that, and then like the very end, I can't say it's a movie I can sit down and write an actual movie review or analysis of, because it's kind of like I don't know, it's just all fun,
Yes.
Oh, I enjoyed it. I would give that one an 8 out of 10 as far as comedy movies are concerned.
That's great. I'm so happy to hear that. And it's sort of that same sense of humor that you get from all those actors and all their projects, but a
Right.
very interesting, not only like premise, but the idea of playing characterized versions of themselves.
Right.
Like, clearly they've heard all the jokes about their performances and
Right.
what they're known for, and they just went with it. I think Jonah Hill probably is my favorite character in the movie, because he's such a like condescending asshole, but he's trying to be everybody's friend.
Yeah, that's it's a hell of an observation. Like you're much more insightful about these types of things than I am. I just kind of look at it and I'm like, that's pretty funny.
And it is. There's a lot of just stupid, silly humor, and sometimes it's just nice to watch something that's stupid and silly.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. You had recommended that I check out for television original old episodes of The Twilight Zone, which are on Netflix. They have almost just about every episode on there. I watched at least 3. 2 that I knew were like absolute classics that people talk about, and then one really random one, really bizarre. The first one I watched was I'm not gonna remember the name of it. The one about the kid that has like the mental capacity to like control reality, but he's like a little kid.
Yeah.
And everybody just is on eggshells walking, because if you make him upset, he can fucking turn you into a jack-in-the-box or send you to another dimension. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's freaky. That was cool, though. I loved it. Good performances by the adults playing very nervous people who are also pretending to be very calm.
Right.
It was interesting. Again, an interesting setup and great execution. Things I like about this show is that it tells a pretty cohesive and good story in a very short amount of time. Just your regular average 20-minute or so episode, sometimes a little longer. I was impressed. I checked out the one where there was a monster on the side of the plane, but nobody could see it. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, the one with William Shatner, right?
Yeah. So he's looking out the plane window. He's got this fear of flying, and you just see some fucking giant monster or some shit just tearing into the plane, and every time somebody comes to check it out, it's not there. Super cool. I loved it. Those are both episodes that were parodied in Simpsons Treehouse of Horror episodes at one point.
Right.
The other one I watched was really weird. It was about aliens coming down to Earth and giving this average sort of pushover guy superpowers, like super strength.
Okay.
And it's funny, you see him in the beginning of the episode getting, beaten up and taken advantage of. He's embedded with this powerful strength all of a sudden that the aliens like blast into him. He pretty much uses it to just dick around and show off and not do anything really productive, get revenge on the guys. And the aliens watching this are like, well, that's kind of disappointing. We're just gonna take those powers away now. And then as soon as he's trying to show off to like a big crowd of people, that's when he loses his powers and he's back to being a loser again. But then some other aliens show up from another planet and decide to give him super intelligence, and that's sort of where the episode leaves off. Best alien design I have ever seen. They are so stupid and ridiculous looking. It's fantastic. I couldn't believe that they made them as silly as they did, but God, I loved it. It's a classic. It's a classic show. It stood the test of time and is going to remain relevant as long as they're still making the rebooted episodes and people are talking about it in shows like Black Mirror too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those. I always clown on myself. I'm like, you know what? Why am I going to watch something black and white, old? I'm not going to like it if I think it's not going to be that good. But
right.
This has proven me wrong, pretty time and time again. So yeah, that was my impression. Nice.
Did you ever see the Twilight Zone movie? It's somewhat obscure now.
I have not. I was unaware there was even such a thing.
It's from the early 80s. I want to say it's a John Landis film, and that episode with the gremlin on the plane is recreated as part of the movie. It's kind of interesting. So I watched Portlandia. One, I love Fred Armisen. He's pretty damn funny.
He's the best.
And, oh yeah. And that show, the episode I watched was like the mayor was missing. And he wound up like just playing like in a club somewhere in Portland playing bass for a reggae band. It's one of the first few episodes.
Yep.
Anyways, like when it comes to how people in like Seattle and Portland view themselves, it's pretty accurate.
That's what I was hoping it would be. I didn't know for sure, but I knew if anybody was gonna know, it would be you. I'm glad you got a bit of a kick out of it. That show just gets better and better as time went on. It was definitely one of my all-time favorite. Fred Armisen is just so funny. The characters. Did you see one with the feminist bookstore at all?
Oh, I didn't see that one. No.
That's in the first one, and then it comes back a number of times throughout the series. That's my favorite, and he plays a woman in that too. And it's fantastic. I would recommend you check that out if you want to watch more.
Yeah, for sure. Like the funny thing is I mean, the people in the characters in the show are so bizarre, but it's like accurate. You know what I mean? It's just
they're
like
caricatures, but of real people in a way.
Yeah, exactly.
How about our final task for one another? This was interesting. I think we both got recommended something pretty cool. You recommended I check out the game Mario Golf, which I have played almost every other Mario game besides that. For the first time I checked it, it's the same publishers and team that made Mario Tennis for the GameCube, which I played a lot. But Mario Golf is interesting. I was very frustrated most of the time because I was not very good at it. And so what if I skipped the tutorials and didn't look at any instructions and just assumed I would pick it up, and as a result I kind of sucked. Doesn't matter. Eventually I kind of got the hang of it, and I've been playing it on and off for the past couple of days. It's the GameCube era. There's so much I miss about it. There's a big parallel between this and the Wii Sports Golf. Tell that it was sort of along the same lines, except I can do this one sitting down on my fat ass and not actually have to get up and swing a Wii remote, which is nice.
That's like you said, that era, there was a lot of just legitimately fun games. I was disappointed when I bought a Switch that there really wasn't, at least to me, any good titles for the Switch. I liked what was it? Super Mario Odyssey.
Yes.
Like, that was cool, but not like that much money cool.
I don't know. Newer Mario games seem relatively lackluster to me. I don't have an urge to play them.
I also bought like the Super Mario Brothers, what's it, U or whatever, like it's kind of the 2D.
Yeah.
It's awful.
The new Super Mario Brothers.
Yeah, I didn't like it at all.
It's too cartoony.
It's too cartoony, and I can't stand the voiceovers they use for those characters.
Oh yeah.
Like, I wish they would just not talk. Like, Mario was better when he just kept his fucking mouth shut.
Every movement warrants a hoo 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 ha.
Yeah. It's like broke dick Mickey Mouse.
Yeah.
and then so I had Link's Awakening as well, and so I had that game when it was on the Game Boy when I was a kid, and so I played through it in like 2 days. But the voice acting in that was even worse. Like, I had to fucking turn the audio off, and that game had good music.
Oh.
But I was like, please just shut your fucking mouth, dude. I mean, they had like this little Japanese woman playing this Link character, and it's just like you fall into a pit, and it's like, ah! Like, oh, Jesus. So, anyways, I digress. So you had me make a specific enchilada recipe.
Minimal thought went into the specifics of it. I kind of just went with what I was craving at the time. So I looked it up online and saw one that looked pretty good, and I figured if it turned out good, I would eventually make it myself, depending on how you would handle it. And I'm happy to say I hope it tasted as good as it looked. You sent me a picture of it. It looked awesome.
Yeah, it was pretty tasty. The only thing that I did differently is when I can avoid it, I don't usually use canned enchilada sauce, although it's much easier. So I usually I just make my own, which is
even better. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just not as hard as you would think. Like, if you know how to make a roux, then you can make pretty good enchilada sauce.
That's sweet. I'm so glad that worked out.
Hell yeah.
I'm gonna give her a try for sure. Did you eat all of it?
I did.
In one sitting?
No, I don't think I could possibly do that. But no, I wound up bringing them. I had a couple I brought into work for a couple days, so it worked out pretty well.
That's sweet. All right, cool, great.
Yeah.
I got to check out and do some pretty cool shit. Thank you, Rested Development. This is in the second episode of the Never Ever Show, and this is all it's all about: getting to know one another and trying new things. And fortunately, most of this stuff we seem to enjoy. So it's been a pleasure having you on. You got anything going on your channel people should know about?
Not just yet. I've heard that there may be some sort of like donation for Betty that involves me animating somebody. Well, like animating somebody from the community. I've heard rumors about it. Haven't got any confirmation yet, but we'll see.
Keep an eye out. Sub to Rested Development if you haven't already. Known for his hilarious computer animations of To Catch a Predator characters and situations, things like that. It's hard to describe. It's just so... You just have to see it for yourself if you haven't already. I had a blast. Thank you so much. I'm going to come back in a few weeks with another guest and another interview. Stay tuned for that. Thank you very much. Like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Bye.